Hey guys, name is Temi,
Hey guys, my name is Sean.
and we'll welcome you to our conversation, True to Kings. We're just here kicking it and talking about things that we see in amongst Africans from home and in the diaspora.
And things that are common to all of us. So join us and we hope you enjoy the conversation.
Your name is who you are, man.
It is, it's
Yeah.
part of it, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, your name is who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially, when I think about it, as Africans.
Yes.
There is, where I said before, your name is your destiny. And there is a spirituality to an affirmation of, for us, your name is not just a sound to be identified by.
No.
No. Your name or our names, are actually sentences.
Yeah.
Hey, you meet an African, you meet people from, outside of Europe, for, lack of a better way to put it. One of the things that we ask each other is, what does your name mean?
Yeah.
When you speak it, if it's a different language than what you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Because what your name means begins to introduce you to me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And another thing about the name is, culture, depending on what culture and what background you come from, whether your father names you or your mother names you, there's significance to who names you. Even in today's times, even in non-African African context, right? You buy a dog or you just don't arbitrarily, regardless of how silly the name of your dog is, whether you're trying to be funny or whatever, there is something about something you see in your puppy, right? All right. You spot because you have a dark spot around one left eye or something. Right. Even so, what I'm saying is, even when you're naming your pet, you think about it, and so your name tells a story, so for us as Black people, what is your name? I'm not talking about necessarily your name, if when the States, I have, your name Sean, your name is Tony or whatever. It goes deeper than that for those of us in the diaspora. It's a little deeper than just that. To me, what I'm actually talking about in the name, before we start bringing it to the level of just what you're called, your name is, who am I?
Yeah.
What does the Creator call me?
Yes.
So if what the Creator calls you, once you're able to find that and understand that and know that, not what somebody else has called you, but what your Creator has called you becomes, once you understand the context of that, then you begin to live out a legacy. You begin to live out a destiny.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I mean, when I think of names, your name to me also forms part of your identity.
Absolutely.
Like you said, in Africa, I think in all of Africa, names have meaning.
Yes.
And what I love about those sorts of names is that once I understand what your name means, then I also understand how you fit into my story.
Imagine that.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yes, sir.
If I know what your name is, like my name is Olasunloye.
Yes, sir.
Olasunloye means that my wealth rests on my title.
There you go.
If you say that to somebody that comes from the Yoruba land, they're like, Olasunloye. all of a sudden they're like, you must come from royalty because Oye means title.
Title, that's right.
And then all of a sudden, the way you look at me changes. And then the next question that you will then ask me is, who is your father? So when we talk about names, I want to talk about names not just from the point of view of what the name is, but like you said, who named you and for what purpose? I tell people all the time that, look, African names, they name you for three reasons. They name you for purpose. They name you for destiny. And they name you to fulfill a promise.
That's right.
If I keep saying a sentence to you every day, telling you how great you are, and I don't want to make a sweeping statement because there are people that have great names that have not done great things. But if I keep calling you great, my hope is that one day
you will fulfill
that name. And you fulfill the greatness that your name embodies.
That's right.
And there was another point that you made that I want to double click on, man. We don't name people for sound. Once again, I was growing up, in Nigeria and in England, and they'd ask me what my name was. I was always caught in two minds. Because one of the things that bothered me was people mispronouncing my name. Because if you mispronounce my name, then you're not calling me by my name. So I'd give them the shorter version, just call me Sean. Man, was I brainwashed.
I know that's right.
You know what I'm saying? I should have said, this is my name. Call it properly. When I see my children now and people pronounce their names wrong, say, no, this is how you pronounce it. It gives me a little bit of joy to understand that I am able to correct some of the things that I did erroneously.
Yes, I second that.
Like the naming part. But then to the other point that we're making, it is not just your name from the point of view of what you're called. The other important thing is who named you. Who named you?
That's right.
And in the context of our conversation, we keep seeing so much similarity in the plight of Africans in the diaspora, Africans in America, and Africans in the Caribbean. Once again, I make no apologies for the way I characterize us. We are Africans. We just live in different places.
That's right.
We are dispersed, but we're still African. The only difference in us is how we've been treated by a particular oppressor. And here's my premise. Our oppressor takes great pride in naming us. Because there's an argument to be had that if you name something, you have dominance.
You own it.
You own it.
That's the bottom line.
And what continues to baffle me is with everything that we now have at our disposal, that we're comfortable being called what our oppressor
calls us.
That's why I want to discuss names.
And that takes me to one of my biggest angst. I'm going to preface this by saying my biggest struggle with with this thought that I have is I can't tell you what the next thing should be. I can identify what I see as the big problem. And I can identify, because of what I can identify, I can relate it to where we are today. And when I say we, I'm talking about Africa. again, I cannot remove myself from, what I hear about the dysfunction of, Africa and the dysfunction of Black people here in the States, and I keep looking at this and I say, if I can understand how you can expect a non-dysfunction when I embrace this idea of what a name is and what the namer,
exactly,
what he becomes as being the namer, and so I look at Africa and I say, these countries, these 54 countries in Africa, were named, number one, let's not even go to the names yet. Let's go to creation of these spaces, and nothing is created just for the heck of it. You take time in doing something is because, there is a purpose to what you're doing.
You expect to get something out of it.
You expect to get something out of it. So this continent was divided solely. There were things that were being achieved. The people dividing it, were beginning to have conflicts because, the race for the goods and
the resources
of Africa was beginning to create a tension from, in Europe.
So they had a gentleman's agreement.
They had a gentleman's agreement.
How can we better divide these savages?
Yes. So what are we fighting about? What are we fighting amongst ourselves, man? We own this thing.
We own this thing.
So let's split it up. So again, historically, in Berlin, actually General Bismarck of Germany called this meeting.
That's right.
And said, man, we're not going to fight amongst ourselves.
Nope.
Let's divide this thing up.
They broke themselves up. Pieces of
Africa. Nigeria is yours. Togo is this. Then who, now for the part of that continent that I'm from, Nigeria, who named, they've now divided it. They now created it. Who named it? Number one, when this thing was being divvied up, when none of us were there.
Nope.
So it was not divvied up with our interest at all.
Nope.
So 100%, this thing was created to benefit somebody else.
That's right.
It was created 100% for the exploitation by somebody else of the people of this continent.
So it was never
designed to benefit you
or to function
in your interest.
So if it is dysfunctional, there's an argument to be made that the dysfunction is actually
part of the
function.
Design. Yes.
There you
go. The dysfunction is part of the design. It's only dysfunctional for you.
It's not dysfunctional for them.
It's not dysfunctional for the person who is benefiting from this thing. So now, Nigeria as an entity, right, originally was created as a company. It was an enterprise.
Yeah.
Created as an enterprise for the sole benefit of somebody else.
That's right.
So just, you go through time, things happen and whatever. And now, within the construct of this creation, right? They now tell you, okay, we're giving you independence from what? From their physically being there in your government house. But then this construct never actually changes.
No.
The name that you didn't call yourself is what you are still called. And then 1960s was when a lot of these things happened, right? All over the continent. 50s, 60s, early 70s, till now, you're still within that construct.
Yeah.
All the mechanism that was created is still in existence, and you think, and then you look at this continent that, oh man, they don't seem to be functional. They don't seem to produce things for themselves. And you wonder why? That's where we're talking about is naming.
Yeah.
That what is in a name. If I create something and I name it, and the name still never changes, but I tell you that I've given this thing to you, you know.
I still have power
I still have power over it.
And every time you answer to that name,
you're saying yes, sir.
You're saying yes, sir to me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. The British captured the Gambia River, but the French had all the land around it. Senegal. The French go to the British and say, listen, we own the landmass around the river that you've captured, right? Mm-hmm. Give us the river, right? And we will give you the Ivory Coast. These guys were playing Monopoly with lands in Africa. The British said, no, we feel that the Gambia River is more valuable than the Ivory Coast. In other words, they thought that, the Gambia River was Park Lane and Ivory Coast was, I don't know, maybe Coventry or something like that.
Yeah.
And they said, no. The psychopathy of such a thing exists until today.
Absolutely.
Gambia is completely surrounded by Senegal. Gambia is skinny and long because the French and the British could not agree to their monopoly cards. So here's my question. When independence was given to these countries, why didn't we withdraw the landmass? Why didn't we redraw the borders? Why are we so comfortable in carrying out the wishes and the desires of our oppressors? Why can we not come together and say, this ain't working? Because it was never designed to work.
It was never designed to work.
For you.
Nope.
Shout out to Ghana. Big shout out to Ghana.
Yes.
When Ghana got their independence, they were called the Gold Coast. They said, no. Which gold? Are you a thief?
Yeah.
They changed their name to Ghana. In retrospect, also, shout out to Biafra.
Yes.
Because they tried to what? They tried to redraw their borders. And they tried to rename themselves.
That's right. Another fallacy that a country tells me, hey, man, we're never colonized. So, but your borders were drawn by somebody else. And then you tell me that you were never colonized.
So where is your sovereignty?
Where is your sovereignty? When your borders were defined by somebody else. I look at this naming thing, and I remember when I was in grade school, they told us about this adventurer, discoverer, Mungo Park, the River Niger. That never, it's the years that I think about this, it makes me almost cry with, this guy is the same phenomenon about, Christopher Columbus coming to
discover the
Americas and stuff like that. I'm like, man, what about the people, for Nigeria, for instance, or for the River Niger area, for instance? You say Mungo Park discovered the River Niger. What does that tell you about how they viewed the people who were there? There were no people.
So we were non-entities.
We were non-entities. Somebody comes and tells you he discovered something that was never lost in the first place.
Bro, I've been fishing here for the past million years.
Yes.
And you're
just discovering it.
Talking about names, something just occurred to me that's very, very funny. So Christopher Columbus, the pedophile, came to America and he discovered it. And he named it wrong. He called it India. Didn't he? And until today, we call the
Native Americans
Indians. Because somebody named you wrong. And even though they knew they named you wrong, guess what? They continued with that construct. Because the idea of them being wrong never enters the conversation. But you know what? Like I keep saying, I understand why you did what you did.
Yeah.
My question is for my people. Why are we continuing this fallacy?
This narrative.
Why are we continuing to answer to what our oppressor calls us?
Define us.
So here's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my issue. I keep saying to you that wherever we are, we're Africans. We're just Africans in different places. Why is that important? It is important because the modus operandi of our oppressor never changed. It never changes. Also, shout out to Haiti for what they did a long time ago. I keep telling my Africans, wherever they are, that there's no difference between you in Africa or the Americans or in the Caribbean. It's the same thing. What was practiced on the individuals that were brought here in slave ships by the millions, what was practiced on them was deployed on a nationwide level in Africa. The changing of Kunta Kinte to Toby was at the point and at the end of a lash and a whip and violence. So they defined Kunta Kinte's name. They defined the borders of his plantation. They defined how far he could go. And they defined how he could move. Let's go to Africa. They've defined your borders, haven't they?
That's right.
They've given you a name, haven't they?
Yes, sir.
And now you have a passport. So they also determine your movement, don't they?
Yes, sir.
How are you different from your Africans in America? How are you different from your Africans in the Caribbean? My anger on this issue is not with the oppressor. I know why you did what you did. I see you. I got you. My anger is with my people. Because the reason that they give me for not changing this narrative no longer works. You cannot tell me it is too difficult. We cannot continue on this path. In our very eyes, we're beginning to see the recolonization of Africa. Let me tell you a secret. The colonizers never left.
That's what I was just going to say. Not a recolonization, a continuation of colonization.
Oh,
yeah.
When I say recolonization, I'm saying by China.
Oh, yes.
What we need to do is this. We need to heal our broken kingdom. The only people that should exploit Africa is Africans. We need to speak to the West and to the East with one voice. We need to let them stop coming in between our conversation. I'll tell you a story. When my son gets in trouble, I say to him, talk to me first before anybody tells me what that problem is or what that issue is. Why? There should be no space between me and you. Nobody should come in between us. By the time your teachers or your principal or this person or that person comes and starts talking to me, if I haven't heard from you first, then I've already lost that conversation. That's the problem with Africa. We are letting too many people into our conversation.
Yes.
At this point in time, there's an issue going on with the Nile River. And there's the Ethiopians are building a dam.
A dam, right.
That's going to benefit them. It's also going to benefit Somalia. Egypt is having some problems with it. And that's fine. That sounds like an African problem to me, doesn't it?
It sure does.
So why is America brokering the conversation? Why is America leading the peace talks? You guys know.
It is because of the same whole thing, if it comes from there, we listen.
Yeah.
If it's amongst ourselves, No respect at all.
No
man.
respect at all.
Because we've been sold a bill of goods, man. Our identity and our names have been bastardized.
They've been bastardized.
Yeah.
It no longer holds power.
It no longer holds power.
Even to the Nigerians that are proud to be called Nigerians. This is what I say. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and she was telling me about how our culture is so rich. For the past 3 years in England, the students that have been carrying like the top marks when it comes to education are of Nigerian descent. Even last year here in America, I think that there was maybe 3 or 4 Nigerians that got like full scholarships to like all the universities of their choice. Here's my question. Why do Nigerians need to leave Nigeria in order to flourish? Why can't we flourish in Nigeria? Why do Africans need to leave Africa in order to be anything of worth or to start to count? Is it maybe because, like what you said, the way Africa is currently designed was not made for your benefit?
There you go.
What is that thing that you're always telling me? You're always telling me this thing. Africa, we know, was created by God.
That's right.
But the countries in Africa
were created by Europe, man.
Were created by Europe.
That right there is it's it in a nutshell, man.
That's the problem.
Yes, sir.
And that's the same thing that's plaguing my people here. Listen, Africans, like, they try to sneer and make derogatory remarks when my African Americans try to rename themselves. I get it. I understand
totally get it.
And I applaud it.
100%.
Do you know that in America, this America that we're talking about, slaves didn't have names per se. You were called whatever your master felt on that day.
That's right.
There was a thing that I saw when they sold slaves. They didn't really have names. You know why? Your name could change once you got to the next plantation. So I bother giving him a name. So your new master will see you and say, you know what? You look like a Fred. You look like a Tom. I'm going to call you Big Tom. I'm going to call you Little John because that's how I feel. Your name had no purpose. Your name had no destiny.
At least not for not for yourself.
And your name held no promise.
Absolutely zero.
So here's my message to the king. We need to decouple ourselves from the ideas that have been handed to us by Europe and the West. These ideas were never meant to work for us. If we cannot see that now, then we will never get it.
That's why I said what I said at the beginning. I'm going to let you land there. That I see what's happening. I see where we've come from. I cannot necessarily tell you, because if you listen to what we're saying, it sounds like we're saying the construct as is, the boundaries in Africa, have to be removed. Nigeria becomes something else. That in itself, to be honest with you, will be my ideal. I understand the difficulty in things like, there are so many interests now. There are people, who benefit, even us Africans, there are individuals who benefit from the status quo, and they happen to be the people who have been, who are in power and stuff like that. So I can see how difficult, it will be, for instance, for, what I believe should be the answer, right? I remember, the Kwame Nkrumah's, the vision they had of this, one Africa, and I understand, I see what happened to them, You know, so I can almost perceive almost like an impossible situation. But the one thing that I just want my people to see, right, is, we can't say we can't, we're not going to do something because it's too difficult. You can't, if the left turn is a wrong turn, you can't say because I've gone 100 miles left. I'm not going to make a U-turn and go back.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to keep going left and hope that because the world is round, at some point in time, I'm going to be on the right side because I've gone
left long enough.
The long left enough. That is foolishness.
And not just foolishness, but it's not working.
It's not working. It doesn't work.
There are so many Africans who are suffering because of the status quo. And because we keep letting other people into our conversation. And like I said, this is a problem for the whole of Africa.
Yes.
Africa in exile.
Yes.
Africa that's been splintered.
Yes.
Africans everywhere. We are being defined by people that want to oppress us.
That's right.
And we keep letting them into our conversation.
That's right.
If we are going to do anything of worth, we need to rename ourselves. So this is what I want to say to the king. I need Toby to start becoming Kunta Kinte again.
Yes, sir.
I understand that violence was applied to make Kunta Kinte into Toby. But honestly, I have no need for Toby. I need Kunta Kinte back. So, to the king, I rename you. I rename you Promise. I rename you Destiny. I rename you Perfect. I rename you to fulfill your greatness. And I rename you